The final evolution of Dragon Kaneki, ladies and gentlemen, is slowly unraveling. For a very long time, a lot of people, not just me, have been pushing the idea of Kaneki having a final form. Something that we have not seen before. One of the realest forms that he could potentially get. Not something like the Black Reaper form or Hayase Sasaki where he loses all of his memories, but something that I think will equate to him being very emotionless, which is a form that we haven't seen the full potential of, right? Black Reaper was what I believe to be the very early stages of it, and the reason why Black Reaper Kaneki was a thing is because of his thoughts coming back in his memories, and they were all kind of confuddling in his head, and he was very confused, and it made him very emotionless, and he just did not care. If you take this same structure and put it into a Kaneki that knows exactly who he is, knows everyone around him, he becomes a very merciless killing machine, and this is kind of what he's been slowly being portrayed to be, especially if he's coming into being the potential quote-unquote final villain of the story. Then this would shape up really well with the end of the story. First and foremost, I do want to talk about the dragon aspect of what Kaneki is right now, because originally, when Kaneki went into this form, we kind of all thought that dragon, this massive long structure, was entirely Kaneki. Like, this whole being was Kaneki just stretched out to the massive degree of layers that this thing is. But however, in the most recent chapters, that is not the case. We recently found out that a very small portion of dragon right now will be Kaneki's main body. And if they manage to cut out the main body, if they manage to cut Kaneki free, then the rest of the structure, the dragon, should theoretically fall apart and just break down, like nothing's controlling it. So realistically, they want to take out the person controlling it without a thought process, which is Kaneki, because obviously he's not the one controlling it. It's kind of just doing its own thing and using him as a host, if that makes sense. I've actually just fully kerfuddled everything that you probably just thought about just then, and I just made it seem like it was more parasitic, but it's not. Just let it be known that what Kaneki is, even though he is the one that is the heart of the whole thing, the head of the operation with Dragon, he's not the one specifically controlling it, which does lead to that very specific question, because when he did transform into Dragon, or at least the early stages of it, before he went into hibernation, he was very curious. You know, he was looking around a lot, and that could potentially be displayed as he was subconsciously looking for something. You know, he wasn't physically trying to scale around the city to look for Toka because he went into this form because of Toka, but more so it was like a subconscious thing, and it would just happen to be that he was, you know, trying to reach out as best he can to get all this visual stimulus going, looking for Toka. But then on the other end, it could also be shown as, you know, that was just him going around and, I don't know, losing control and just blasting around the city, just doing whatever. You know, I'm not a really big fan of that way, because the way he kind of constructed around the city, he was never really aggressive in any way, which would kind of be my first thing. If he was completely out of control, he would retaliate against the military that attacked him, but he didn't. So, well, I mean, he kind of did, but it wasn't to the extent of going out of his way to attack them. It was more so he was trying to escape and accidentally obliterated everyone. So he's killed a lot of humans, he's killed a bit of the military, but he's never gone out of his way to actually do it per se. Like, realistically, if you think about it, there would be a lot more destruction, and I mean a lot more destruction, if he was trying to destroy stuff, if he was trying to even eat stuff and cannibalize even more. Realistically, I think Kaneki is subconsciously there, he's just not in full control, and I don't think he ever will be able to fully control this. However, this leads us to the final evolution of Kaneki and him actually being cut out of this form, and how it actually could all be portrayed and foreshadowed. So if I can find the pictures of Ishida's artwork, I will put them on screen. But if you guys didn't know, Ishida loves to foreshadow his work in a lot of cover pages and a lot of just artworks that he posts, obviously surrounding his series, but aren't actually in the manga itself, nor is it a cover. You know, sometimes he just does artwork for Tokyo Ghoul and he posts it on Twitter or some other sites, and people look at this artwork and it's extremely symbolic, it's extremely well done, and it kind of questions the future of the entirety of the stories. Like, we've seen pictures of Toka supposedly at a, you know, in a funeral gown, looking like she's in a graveyard. What is more interesting is that we've seen Kaneki kind of in this very obscure armor. It looks very Kakaja-esque, which I think a lot of people is kind of getting that vibe at the moment. He looks extremely emotionless. More interestingly enough, he has these black bars coming out of his back, and it's the weird thing about this is that in every example that Ishida has drawn this kind of red background, this Kaneki, like this weird armor, or anything relating to that type of artwork, there's always been like these black structures or these bars or these lines kind of protruding out of Kaneki's back. And they're not physically like that, they kind of just float there, just makes it look real artsy and it's not really connected to anything. But it seems like people have come to the assumption that this artwork has actually foreshadowed Kaneki being inside of Dragon, and that realistically Dragon has bursted out of his back and he's basically connected to it, some bloody Matrix style. Like he's just got all these tubes, he's got all these things kind of connected to his back, and it's all just bursting out, and that's kind of what's built off him per se. If this is the case, right, and you know they managed to find Kaneki, I've always hoped that there would be a repercussion for this. I don't think that them cutting out Kaneki is the best thing for him. First and foremost, they do mention that Kaneki's health in this dragon form, I should say the dragon's health, could theoretically live for 200 odd years, right? In saying that, after 200 years it would start to break down and most likely disappear. Now they equate this back to theoretical amounts of kakaho that he has eaten, which is very peculiar because no one knows that Kaneki has a small portion of DNA in his body that's actually killing him. So realistically, their 200-year estimate is wrong, but at the same time, it's kind of correct. It's weird. So the way I'm picturing it, right, because there is a lot of finer details for Kaneki's health and why he's rapidly aging. They did kind of explain it, and you kind of get the bare concept of it, but there's a lot more to it, meaning that it's potentially unfixable unless Dr. Kanao has managed to implement this theoretical nucleus into Kaneki's body, right? And look, I ain't a biology expert. I don't know the human anatomy or ghoul anatomy or anything like that, so I could be completely off the mark. But you know, Dr. Kanao did mention a nucleus. If he was being realistic with it, like if it wasn't just like a metaphorical theoretical question, and he was specifically talking about a nucleus, implanting it into Kaneki, realistically, if Kaneki gets cut out of this thing, the human DNA inside of him shouldn't necessarily be killing him anymore. And I'll try and explain this as simple as possible. The way I can put this simply without kind of bringing in biology terms and DNA cells and all this other mumbo jumbo that I don't even know what I'm talking about. The telomere is the best example, right? I believe it's the telomere or something like that. And say you have a block of wood, and on that block of wood, on each ends is like these two little other blocks of woods that are like different color or whatever, right? This is what's human inside of Kaneki, this telomere. And probably, I can't remember if it's telomere or if it's something else, right? I'm just going to keep calling it tello or whatever. This tello, this DNA or whatever, is what is human about Kaneki. So in a normal human body, if you get injured or, you know, just a normal aging process, each time the two blocks on the end of the main block, the two colored ones, get shorter and shorter. And that is the aging process. You know, the two side blocks on either side get shorter and shorter. For a ghoul, it's the same thing. However, the telomere is equated for the ghoul injuries. Like you get cut in half, you get brought back together, and you know, you're still losing that same portion of block off the ends. But because Kaneki has a human version of it, and he gets injured like a ghoul, he heals like a ghoul, he's taking massive amounts of the end blocks off. You know, he's cutting massive amounts off the end. And what this is doing is forcing him to rapidly age, because he's going through the process of cutting that block. And the smaller that block gets, you know, the older you're becoming. So for humans, it's a natural thing. For full ghouls, it's a natural thing. But because Kaneki has a human portion of it, and he has the healing rate of a ghoul, he's getting injured like a ghoul, it's cutting more and more off viciously, which is forcing him to rapidly age. Now, if you manage to understand that, I'll try and get diagrams or something, but if you manage to understand that, I gotta applaud you, because I explained that horribly. I am truly sorry, but if you did somewhat got that idea, that is how Kaneki ages. If this nucleus gets brought into the picture, it may actually, I don't want to say reset that telomere, but allow it to divide, or I'm so lost, I can't do it. So if this nucleus comes back into the picture, like if it's still inside of Kaneki, and it could potentially not fix Kaneki or cure him, but allow him to kind of equate things a little bit easier. He may not necessarily have to cannibalize to the fullest extent to keep himself alive, but he may potentially live a normal life if this nucleus is a thing. Now, I could be completely wrong, because like I said, don't know biology, don't know how this stuff works, and as well as we don't know about this stuff that is in Ishida's head, because he hasn't explained it to us, so it's all just gambling gambling. It's all just theory. But that could be a possibility. Either way, I'm not really sure. It's not really a big of a deal. I thought I'd just go through and explain the process of him aging anyway. And I kind of equate it back to Dragon because you think Dragon would also rapidly age because of these telomeres, but he's not, which is most likely, I'm thinking, because of the nucleus that's been added to him that allows the cells to divide or something like that. I'm just Google, man. I just looked up on Google. I still couldn't understand anything. I'm impressed. If you have anything to do with the human anatomy, biology, or whatever, I am impressed. You deserve every bit of money you get from doing that type of work. Impressive. I'm truly sorry. I got completely caught off track in explaining stuff, but Kaneki coming out of this form completely emotionless, right? It would tailor with the ending of the story because as much as Hide has kind of joined the Kaneki's organization, Ghouls, with the CCG humans, he's kind of already built the pretext of the world that Kaneki wants. I still don't want Kaneki to live at the end of the series, and he could potentially break the mold, per se, of what Hide has built. And he could potentially be outcasted by the CCG. Hear me out, right? Because on one hand, you have Kaneki's group wanting to save him, and then on the other hand, you don't know what the CCG wants to do. I'd imagine they want to lock him up or try and kill him, and I don't think Kaneki is going to let that stuff fly if he is emotionless. He's not going to get bullied around if he doesn't care about these people. If he's a completely different person, you know, imagine if Hide builds Kaneki up as being this nice person, this nice ghoul that, you know, loves humans and wants to help them and wants to join the world together, but then they pull him out of this dragon, they're like, oh, here he is, and then he's just emotionless, like he doesn't care about anyone around him, all his motives are just gone. Then it gets a little bit weird. I don't know if he would fight the CCG or, you know, what his quote-unquote true goal would be, but I don't know. Him coming out of this form, I feel like it's going to be his final evolution. Whether he's completely emotionless or there's something wrong with him and, you know, he disappears potentially and they try and look for him, or Hide tries to get inside of him and just, I'm feeling the tumble of fandom with the Hide x Kaneki, but, you know, Hide trying to reach out for Kaneki to bring back his humanity, bring back the original idea. Hide being the person to outstretch the hand for the human world. All Kaneki has to do is reach back and connect, and that could kind of be the final thing. You could also add in the final villain, the Naga Serpent or whatever, but I mean, the Naga Serpent just chilling on, they even gonna play on this dude? Like, he only has 200 years realistically. I still question why he's underground and hasn't come back up, unless he's being controlled by the V organization, which just a wild theory out there, you know what I mean? Like, why hasn't the Naga Serpent reappeared to eat more ghouls, even though he's demolished everything underground? Don't know. So unless he's being controlled or the V organization have something to do with it, or he's hibernating, maybe, I don't know. Maybe he hibernates a lot, I don't know. He may be the final villain. Kind of anticlimactic if you think about it. If the Naga Serpent is no one that we know about, then kind of anticlimactic, but a lot of people think it's Uta or Itori for some reason, which I may do a separate video on. So let me know if you want to see Uta being the original One-Eyed King and whatever. It's not my theory or anything. I'm just going to kind of explain why I think it kind of could be possible, but more so the fact that it doesn't really make sense. Regardless, Kaneki's final evolution, I am very excited for it. I'm hoping it's a legitimate thing. I don't really want him to come out of this dragon form being the exact same person when he went in. We seen him crack. You know, that there was this one panel, it was all black background, it was Kaneki, he's like, well, I guess I can't see Toga ever again, and the drawing for him, he was completely broken. So let my man be emotionless, let him be emo, let him be potentially suicidal again, I don't know, and let Hide and Toga try and fix him mentally for good, and then he dies at the end of the series or something, I don't know. So I'm hoping there's a final form. I'm hoping it's something not ridiculous, but in par with his quote-unquote final character, who knows. So with that being said, I want to thank you all for watching, but I'm actually going to end the video off here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I really appreciate it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.